Alright, we have a replay here from Lenorm and Segos. Lenorm's name is always some kind of bird, and apparently Boobook Owl gets filtered. Cool, cool. Dark Elves versus Wood Elves. Very quick Vanguard here from the Wood Elves. So we have 5 Dryads in the front line, then some Wild Riders, Glade Riders in the flanks. 1 Sister of the Thorn, the hybrid skirmish / melee cab with some bound spells. And we have a Glade Lord on a dragon with Helm of Discord and Soporific Breath, and a Branch Wraith with Melkots and Earthblood. For the Dark Elves, things already started up, but it is a front line of Bleak Swords and Dread Spears, some Blackheart Corsairs in there as well, some Cold One Knights, double Manticores, and Supreme Sorceress of Dark with Soul Stealer up on her dragon as well. Pretty straightforward build. There are 2 ranged units on this entire map, and it is the Wood Elf Lord and the Sisters of the Thorn. Everything else is just hardcore melee. And oh boy, these Cold One Knights got massacred. Good lord. Cold Knights and Dark Riders getting beat up, but the double Manticores are diving in onto the Glade Lord now. Looks like the Supreme Sorceress of Dark was lining up for a breath attack somewhere. I don't know if it already went down or if she just decided against it. She is going to dive in onto the Glade Lord, though with Helm of Discord, she's down to pretty pathetic melee stats. And she also immediately chucks out a Soul Stealer, it looked like, but it must have gotten canceled or something. The Wood Elf Cavalry is overall performing much better than the Dark Elf Cavalry. Now, to be fair, it has been like 2v1 in the best of times for the Dark Elves. They're getting kind of massacred by that. The front line for the Dark Elves is going much better. They have way more and better troops killing those Dryads. And meanwhile, a Soul Stealer was thrown down. I thought I saw, or just faded. Don't know. Anyway, the Glade Lord took a ton of damage, even with his 20% damage resistance from the Scroll of Shielding. Earthblood is chucked out, giving some good healing to the Elite Cav and the Glade Lord himself. And yeah, Wood Elves kind of raffle stomping the map right now. They can start cycle charging the front line, as we see these Glade Riders are doing now, though they aren't backing off, so they're going to start taking a lot of damage, especially when those Blackheart Corsairs turn around. Dragon Lord lands next to these Dread Spears, is going to tear out them off and help the Dryads claim victory on that front. While the Wild Hunters of Kurnoss somehow get isolated, they are in a 3v1 on a hillside, trying to scurry out of there. Don't know where the rest of the Wood Elf Cav went. I mean, obviously it's over here, but I don't know how it got that far away from the Hunters of Kurnoss, who are now getting dragged down. With low armor comes high risk. And that is a big loss for the Wood Elves. Meanwhile, the Manticore and the ladies are pushing around over here, killing some Dryads, doing some more damage to those Wild Riders. Dragon Lord comes over to help out the Hunters of Kurnoss, throws down a quick breath attack onto the Dark Elves. Never mind, cancels it. Yeah, canceled it. Earthblood, and then a dive from the Dragon Lord should rout off all these guys pretty easily, but the Hunters of Kurnoss, I mean, the damage has been done there, right? On the south side, Wood Elf Cavalry is running down all the infantry of the Dark Elves they can, shattering them, while the rest of the Dark Elves try and stick together and get back to the high ground where they have a little bit more oomph. Double Manticores and the Malekith wannabe are all landing on the Glade Lord yet again. If he has Helm of Discord up, he should be okay. If not, he will actually take a good amount of damage as he starts to waddle his way back to safety. Yeah, he's fine. Branch Wraith is here. She's getting ignored. She's here. More Wild Riders are coming back. Sisters of the Thorn are firing into the Dark Elf Sorcerer Lady. And the Glade Lord continues to waddle to his heart's content to try and get to safety. Wild Hunters of Kurnoss charge uphill into some Dark Riders who were not ready for that, and they will break immediately. I wonder if these Cold Knights get activated, they also will rout off. Wood Elves still slightly ahead on the balance of power, and I would tend to agree. Dark Elves have a lot of infantry, but I've always said that I don't really count on infantry to win in land battles. Like, if in the end game your enemy has blank and you have infantry, usually blank is going to be favored. Cavalry, big monsters, archers, stuff like that. Within reason, of course. Nice little breath attack onto the 4 Wood Elf Cav. Just gets a little bit of poke, but I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. And the Glade Lord is back in the sky. He throws down Helm of Discord to try and protect himself, but still not a situation he's gonna want to be in. He does dive away quickly, trying to get out of there. And a Soul Stealer was popped, healing up the Supreme Sorceress of Dark. And it fades now? Yeah, it looks like it fades now. For the Dark Elves, a bunch of infantry are finishing up what they can do and now trying to rejoin the fold as a big Wild Rider charge takes off a ton of health from them. Sister of the Thorn firing out the last of their ammunition. And yeah, I have to think with effective cycle charging, the Wood Elves can still take this, but I guess the Bounce of Power is turning against them. Thinks all the Dark Elf infantry and monsters are good enough. I guess they're still full health Manticore. Supreme Sorceress of Dark, just doing normal Dark Elf things. Like, she's Soul Stealed so much that she heals up any damage she takes. The Bounce Power is deceived. Big breath attack from the dragon does a lot of friendly fire onto those Wild Riders. That's a bit of a whoopsie. And big charge attacks onto the Branch Wraith, doing a lot of damage to her, while Sisters of Thorn fire their last volley of ammunition. But that little sequence there for the Wood Elves was brutal. Branch Wraith taking all the damage, friendly fire onto the Wild Riders. Oof. Oof ba-boof. A little more healing from the Branch Wraith onto the Dragon Lord and the Wild Riders. She cares not for her own safety, but only those of her friends. The Wild Hunters of Kurnos on the high ground are still around if they need to chase something off, like these bleak swords or something. But with the Wood Elves' massive mobility advantage, they are going to want to focus mostly on taking down anything that routes you need to like kill it entirely. Because you can't just win by grinding, right? Soul Stealer onto the Sisters of Thorn doesn't hit either of the single entities, though, so that will be not ideal. I think it was trying to catch the Branch Wraith and the Sisters of Thorn, so I get it, but yeah, you generally want to hit like 3 or 4 units, if you can. Sisters of Thorn still very healthy. All the rest of the Wood Elf Cav is quite worn down. For the Dark Elves, we're getting a lot more charging into these bleak swords and stuff. They're not looking too hot. I don't know what's going to stop this full health Manticore and the full health Supreme Sorceress, though. Seems like a tough time. More healing, more Earthbloods. And the rampaging Manticore is chasing the Wild Riders off the map. More routes from the Dark Elves. I'm going to fast forward for just a hot second here. Is the Manticore getting... Ooh, yeah, that's right, you have a range attack. Manticore getting shot by the Wood Elf Lord manages to rout him. Meanwhile, the Manticore and the Supreme Sorceress are chasing off more Wild Riders. Manticore gets shot some more, routed off in the far side. Wild Riders do manage to rally, even in the face of a different Manticore. And the Dark Elves are rallying their 3-foot infantry. For the Wood Elves, we've been keeping tabs on it, but we have 2 very wounded Glade Riders, 2 very wounded Wild Riders, and a Sister of the Thorn that's actually rather healthy. A little more fast forwarding as this side chases them, shatters off a Wild Rider. Meanwhile, the Wood Elves are positioning, and so far, I mean, the Glade Lord is just shooting with his bow, and then he even throws down a breath attack onto the clustered up infantry, who try and dodge. It doesn't do that much damage, so dodge semi-successful. Now the Glade Lord almost takes a fight, but then decides to dive. Supreme Sorceress of Dark decides to take it anyway, even with her Opal Amulet charge, 20% damage distance for her, and she probably has another Soul Stealer if the Sisters of the Thorn want to come over and say hello. But so far, it looks like the Wood Elves are happy to just let this happen. The Wood Elves have gotten a lot of healing from the Branch Wraith over the course of this reset-up period, and now the Supreme Sorceress of Dark is going to get lit up. Helm of Discord onto her. And she does throw down a Soul Stealer. That's going to be a beautiful Soul Stealer unless Sisters of the Thorn get out of here, but it's going to hit all 4 of these units, which is great. It doesn't do amazing damage, but it still does damage. The only thing in the Wood Elf army it missed were these 2 almost dead units. So big Soul Stealer getting big damage. Balance Power goes even further against the Wood Elves, though the Dark Elf infantry is not having a good time. 2 of them routed off. The last one is thinking about it. Manticore continues to fight. Glade Lord. Shield of Thorns is on him for some damage reflection, but is approaching his heal cap. Even with just Earthblood spam, still getting the heal cap. Wild Hunters of Kurnos come down the mountain, hit the Manticore in the face, making him rampage. All the Dark Elf infantry is routing. Supreme Sorceress of Dark is most of that balance of power, which is still in the favor of the Dark Elves, but she's not a great melee combatant. 50-46 is good, but not incredible. And the Manticore is actually getting the shit kicked out of him. And he routs, leaving her all alone versus the forces of the Wood Elves. She's continuing to fight. Her heal cap isn't within sight, and since her only spell is Soul Stealer, I have to think she has at least 2 more. Maybe some of them weren't used while she was damaged, so there's that, but I still think she has at least 2 more. Maybe 3, but I would put money on 2. Glade Lord is out of ammunition as he goes to chase the Manticore. The Manticore is slower, so should be able to catch it. And this lady continues to path out, even though she's just taking damage for it. There she throws down a Soul Stealer as soon as he recommits, so maybe that's what she wanted, but it still seems like she took a lot of damage there for that. So big Soul Stealer. Manticore also comes back, instantly rampaging, but dives into the Glade Lord. Balance of power was going towards the middle for the Wood Elves. Now it's shrinking again as the Soul Stealer does its work. The Wild Hunters of Kurnos are managing to hold on to their leadership, and there's her heal cap. So yeah, I'd bet she has one more Soul Stealer in her. Maybe none, but probably one. She's back in the sky. She's just going to chase the Glade Lord while the Manticore stays on the ground and just rampages. So, you know, it's outside her control. Hopefully it does stuff. It does not. It just routes. She then thinks about landing on the blob, then gets back up into the sky, and is going to duel for her life. Helm of Discord brings it down to 26-22 for melee stats, 48-42 on the other side. And she's missing, because of course, I mean, her stats are way down. She got a decent hit in there, I think. Missing, 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 as this guy's going to try and land. Bleak Swords have rallied and are trying to fight. We still have the Sisters of the Thorn, who are doing good. Manticore will rally. Its leadership is high enough for now. Supreme Sorceress of Dark lands onto the Glade Lord. Gets a big shot onto him. He's down to 800 HP. Man, if you had another Soul Stealer, this would be a great time, but, I mean, she was just using him, so it's either still on cooldown or trying to get the Winds of Magic back. 91 HP on the Glade Lord. She's trying to kill him off. If he dies, that will be a big leadership spike against the Wood Elves. A Melkoth is used, and yeah, he straight up dies. Melkoth was even used on the Supreme Sorceress of Dark, try to slow her down, I guess, but the leadership spike just shattered off the Wild Hunters of Kurnos and routed these two other units. Sisters of the Thorn barely hanging on, Branch Wraith barely hanging on, but for the Dark Elves, these Bleak Swords are still routing. The Manticore straight up shattered, and these Bleak Swords are trying to come back home. Supreme Sorceress of Dark continues to fight. I haven't seen another Soul Stealer out of her, and she's had plenty of times to recharge Winds of Magic, so she might have used them very aggressively at the start when she didn't need the HP. And that's why she's not going to heal cap, I guess, but traditionally Dark Elf Caster Lords, if they just use their stuff for healing, they can heal cap and still have one left over. Sisters of the Thorn taking a ton of damage. They do tear her out, leaving just our Supreme Sorceress of Dark with a Branch Wraith. 1900 HP for the Dark Caster, 1800 for the Branch Wraith. She gets a nice recharge onto the Dark Caster, who is trying to chase the Sisters of the Thorn. They're only terror routing, not a real route, so they will come back, and it looks like the Supreme Sorceress didn't want that to be, didn't want them to come back and rear charge her, but it looks like that's what they are going to do. She knocks over the Branch Wraith on her charge attack, because foot characters are still very difficult to kill for literally no reason. Opal Amulet gives her 20% damage resistance as she is surrounded by Wood Elves. Wood Elves take the balance power lead for the first time in a very, very long time. Supreme Sorceress continues to try and fight her way out. I don't think there is a Soul Stealer coming. I don't think there is hope for the Dark Elves as she falls almost below 1000 HP. Her leadership is dipping down into the teens. But the Sisters of the Thorn almost dead. Single-digit leadership for a little second there. -12, and she routs. It is a win for the Wood Elves. 2,600 value on the Glade Lord caster. Cavalry, overall pretty good value. Yeah, overall pretty good value. Branch Wraith did excellently, and Dryads did okay. For Segos, 5,200 value on the Dark Elf Soul Stealer Dragon Lord. If anybody thinks Soul Stealer is not still unbalanced, that. Otherwise, Manticores did okay. Cavalry got mostly fucked up by the Wood Elves Superior Cav. Dark Riders did okay. But yeah, GG. Roar! Subscribe, yes, yes.